Hi, I'm Andi the Knittress, and this is my podcast where I like to share all the things that I do with yarn and fiber. Do you hear that? It's silence. My kids are back to school. So I decided to film a podcast today. This is episode 22. And I do believe it's close to my 2-year podiversary. It's been since November that I filmed, so I have a massive mountain of FOs in front of me to show you. So much so that I'm probably only going to show FOs today. It's going to be an FO parade. And then next time I film, I'll show you whips or whatever I've finished by then. So let's start with what I'm wearing. This is called the Willow Creek, and it is by a pattern by Justina Lukowska. And the pattern didn't go up to my bust size, so I had to do a little bit of gauge math, figure out which one to cast on. I think I went up 2 needle sizes and cast it on for the second to the last size. And this is in the color Electric Rainbow. I do believe it's Madeline-Tosh. It's a discontinued color. It's one of my favorite colorways, so I had to have a sweater out of it. I did carry, I alternated rows, so I didn't get very much pooling. I did in this sleeve got a little bit of a weird colorway, even though I alternated rows there the same as I did this one, but this skein must have just been a very drastic difference in the dye lots. I don't even think they had dye lots if I remember correctly. So that is a finished sweater. I took the leftover yarn from this and made some mittens, and because I was alternating skeins, I had a little bit left from 2 separate skeins, and you can see the difference in the skeins. They're, it's all Electric Rainbow, but this one's far more blue. This one's got a lot more of the actual rainbow color in it, so that's pretty interesting there. So dye lots matter. And those are fun. These are kind of improvised, this little fold over mitten from, I have a book by Ann Budd, and it is called The Knitter's Handy Book of Patterns. And there's lots of different, there's mittens and hats and sweaters and just the basic math with stitch gauge, how many to cast on, etc. Just kind of breaks it down like that. And so I cast on with what I guesstimated the gauge would be for these from knitting this, and made myself some little fingerless mitts that fold down. So the fingerless mitt pattern is not in there. They just had mittens, and I just did the ribbing and then bound off so that I could have some fingerless mitts for driving. I wish I would have made these a little bit longer, but I did run out of yarn. So they are what they are. They're cute. You can fold them down. They do their job. So another thing that I have to show you is, I forgot to show you guys last time, and this was finished at my last podcast, was my carved pullover by Emily Haver. It is all done, and it is very cute. It's I made it cropped, and I just love this, and I still wear it even though it's not Halloween. I wore it to work the other day, and this is Forbidden Fiber Co. Springtime in Paris on their Temperance base, and I just love this sweater. I talked a lot more about it in other episodes, but it's just absolutely cute. Something I showed you guys last time that had caught my attention is my rug by Junko Okamoto, and I did some like the pattern's written, you know, where it's one main color, but I did, you know, some red and green, and this is Pullover held double throughout. There's some short rows built in the pattern on the back side to help create the shaping. This sweater is super comfortable. I love it. It's a little on the rustic side, but when I'm cold, and this is just the perfect thing to have on. Throw it on to go check the mail on the chilly mornings or when I'm walking the dog. I just love it. It's one of my favorite things, and I just love the color work and how this yarn behaved. And there's like a little bit of a halo to it. I think you can probably see, yeah. So that got finished shortly after I filmed the last podcast. And I don't remember if I showed this, but I have finished it also. This is, the pattern I used for the sizes is Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits, the Rainbow Unicorn sweater that I had test knit for her, for my daughter. And because I bought full skeins of these colors to put in the rainbow for my daughter's sweater, I was able to use the rest of those to make myself a rainbow sweater. I did just have to get one more skein of the antler color. And this is Madeline Tosh Farm Twist. And I absolutely love it. The sleeves are a little long, but who doesn't love, you know, a long length sleeve just to cuddle up in. It's just super cute, very bright, and I really like it. It's so drapey and so soft. It's one of my more frequently worn sweaters since I've made it. And the next thing that I finished was probably, I made a stocking. This was some of the Pullover that I had left over from that sweater, and I knit it into a stocking, and then I felted it for, this is Artemis, this is for our dog. It's her stocking that I made her, and I really like how it feels, how it turned out being felted. I just cast on, I think 45 stitches up here at the top in garter, and then I did color work down here. I kind of tried to do like a buffalo check. You could probably see that. Basically just did a green square and then alternated red, green in this section, and then the opposite in the next row. And did red heel and toe. And then I threw it in the washing machine on hot and let it shrink up. So before this, it was probably, I don't know, it was probably like this big and a little wider, but I like the way that it turned out. And I did an I-cord for the strap, secured it down really well. So now our pupper has her own Christmas stocking. And I kind of love this. I almost want to redo the ones that I made for my kids years ago, because they are just a basic Christmas stocking out of Hometown USA, I believe. So I might do that eventually in the future. Another thing that I have finished is I made Scarlett and Xander some Christmas presents They play this game, and everybody probably knows what it is. It's called Among Us. I made them little crewmates. I crocheted these. This is just like Sirdar Happy Cotton. The pattern is by Kathleen Fernandez, and it's kind of cool, I guess. I don't play the game, so I don't know, but my kids were excited because this is the crewmate when they're alive, and then this is the crewmate when they're dead. I don't know. I don't play the game, so I don't understand it, but they were super stoked about that. And they just thought it's cool. There's like little visor in the backpack, and I just stuffed it with extra yarn, and they were super happy with it. So it's always good when, you know, you make a gift and they're so happy. The next thing I did was I crocheted Scarlett a headband, and this is called the Vire Ear Warmer by Debrosse, D-E-B-R-O-S-S-E, and this is crocheted, even though it looks knit. I made her one for her doll, and I loved the way the pattern looked, and I purchased it, and then had I realized it was just slip stitching, I probably wouldn't have went with that pattern because I don't like to slip stitch. It's the worst for crochet for me, I guess. But this is just some like home decor yarn I have. I think Bernat makes it. And it's in Scarlett's current favorite color, which is cyan or aqua. But it's just, you just crochet it straight. I don't know if I said knit before. You just crochet it straight, and then they have you attach it. There's some detailed instructions how to sew it together to get that little knot. Probably wouldn't be too hard to figure out if you're pretty proficient, prolific. I don't know the right word, but I made those for her for Christmas also. The next thing that I made was probably, I finished this. I was working on a corner to corner just scrappy blanket, and then one day I was looking at it and it folded weird, and I was like, oh, that would be a really cool pillowcase. So I took an old pillowcase and I stuffed it full of some scrap wool that I had that just would not have been good for spinning, and I seamed it up. Like I did like a mattress stitch for crochet, and I seamed it up around the pillowcase. So I have this cool pillow that sits over on my spinning chair to help with my posture, and I just think it looks really cool. And this is just all scrap DK yarn that I had, and I love it. The other thing that I finished is my very favorite, because I get really, really cold. So I took all the bulky yarn that I had from scraps and making hats, and then dug through and pulled some out of my actual stash that I were like mostly acrylics and stuff, and I cast on like 200. I think I used a size 10mm hook, and it was way too long. But what I ended up doing when I finished was I folded it over on itself. So this is a double thick scrappy granny stripe, and then I crocheted around the edge, around all the edges, and I will back up and show you a little bit. It's super huge, and I love it. This is so thick and so warm and so heavy. It's like a weighted, cozy blanket, and it's just a bunch of scrap, bulky yarn and non-scrap. I did dig through my stash to add some yarn so I'd have enough to have a big blanket. And it is awesome. And I swear it weighs about like 6 or 8 pounds. So then for Christmas, I got a loom. So that was something that I dove into. Oh, I guess I did finish this before I did that. I showed you guys last time the Alice Mitten by Diana Walla. Well, I finished them, and this is why I do not like doing things single. Like, if there's a pair of socks or a pair of mittens, I like to do them 2 at a time. These 2 mittens are 2 different sizes. This one is way bigger than this one. Like, if I line them up, you can see this one is bigger. So I think that what I need to do is I need to line them so they fit a little nicer, but I guess my gauge changed on the second mitten. I still love the way they turned out. There's cashmere in here and silk there, and I told you a lot more details last time about the yarn. I got a lot of stuff to show you in a short amount of time today, so we're just gonna make it quick. But I do love how these turned out. And so then I got a loom for Christmas, so I have a lot of weaving to show you, but I guess let me finish the knits first, even though that's not the order they were finished in. So I got this skein of Euro Sock by Madeline Tosh in colorway Monster Mash. They were like some little, they were called extras, like extra skeins that my local yarn store bought. So there's like one colorway of each kind in the box, and this was such a fun color. I instantly said, oh, that one has to be mine. So I did the Everyday Slouchy Beanie by Dragon Horde Yarns. It's one of my favorite shaped hats, and it's a really cute hat. Let's see, can I get it on over my stuff? I got like a theme. I guess I just like bright rainbows and oranges and purples, and yeah, so that's a cute little hat. I wear it to work frequently. I have a friend of mine back east who found out that she's having a baby, so instantly I decided I needed to make her something. So I made the adorable little baby sophisticate, and these cute little coconut buttons. This is in this is in Fairy Tale Yarns, in their Goldilocks base, which is like a Targhee silk. And the colorway is Hello Sweetie. And it's just absolutely adorable. And she's having a little guy, but I think little guys can wear purple just fine. It's just so precious. So I'm gonna mail that off to her. I think she's just a little over halfway done baking that baby. So that'll be exciting for me to send to her. Another thing that I finished is I got this awesome book, and it's called Edward's Crochet Imaginarium. And it's pretty cool because you just flip through the book and like they break it down to like head, arms, feet. There's a tail section, so you can just like, you know, pick one head and then pick different arms and then pick the feet, and kind of just, there's lots of different options. It's really cool, and there's some really good instructions in here. I think the only thing is that almost caught me up but did not was I do believe that these are not US crochet terms that they are UK crochet terms, and that almost caught me up, but when I look at this I can tell that, you know, these are, the bodies are single crochet, and I think it said double, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not double crochet. So yeah, so if you happen to get this book, just know that it is UK terms and not US, but it's pretty awesome. So I went through and I made this crazy gal out of the leftovers from my grandma's Telja, Hello Sweetie from the Little Baby Sophisticate. I knit a sample for my local yarn store that was, it was out of this, this is called Green Apple, Golden Delicious. I think it's called Golden Delicious. But anyway, made this crazy lady. She's got webbed feet and arms, and I put some rice in a little bag and her bottom so that she can sit up straight. She's got this cool multicolored hair, which took quite a while for me to finish. But the instructions in that book are really detailed and awesome, so I didn't have any problem understanding what was going on. And I just always stuff my crochet dolls with extra yarn. So whenever I, you know, cut the ends off of yarn when I'm winding them into the skein, into the cakes, or, you know, if I have just, you know, a few grams left and that won't make a crochet square, or I just have it in this little cigar box at, like, kind of right there, just keep them in little cigar boxes until it's overflowing, and then I'm like, okay, time to make a doll. So then I make a doll, and Scarlett named her Elizabeth, and I think that we went with Elizabeth Irwana Sea Glider is her official name, but she's just super cute, and she kind of lives up there on the shelf next to the little unicorn. The next thing that I have knit is this pattern. It's called the Lotus Flower Beanie, and I had my eye on this pattern from the time that I think it's BK Knits, if I remember correctly. Let's see, is her name on here? I think it's, I wrote it down. Lotus Flower Beanie is B Knits, oh, B Knits Handmade. So it's the Lotus Flower Beanie. It is a pricey pattern, but it's totally worth not doing the math and figuring it out yourself. There's more than one pattern size, like yarn weight size in this pattern, and it goes from baby to adult. So didn't really want to pay $11 for it, but she put work into it. I can support her pattern, and it was worth it to not have to figure this all out by myself, and then I can just knit and not have to do the math. So you buy 2 skeins of a chunky yarn. I happen to get Malabrigo Rasta, and I got 2 hats. Now, I did a tubular cast on this one because it's my preference to do a tubular cast on, and I was a little worried that I would not have enough to do the tubular cast on for this, but I do have plenty left. I would have been able to do a tubular cast on for both, but I was second guessing myself. So you can see the cute little lotus flower stitches there. It's like mosaic knitting. You're only holding one color at a time, so it's not super difficult to do. It's a very cute pattern, and you get 2 hats out of, you know, the yarn that you need to buy for one. So these will make great gifts. It's a very quick knit. I think it took me like 3 hours to make one hat. Put a big pom-pom on it. It's adorable. So yeah. I did do a little bit of spinning. I got a jumbo flyer for Christmas for myself, sort of. So I spun up a big, thick rainbow bat that's all sparkly. I've made yarn that looks just like this before, more or less. I applied it with some suffix cross that I had that was thinner spun, and it's just like a little cloud of rainbow, and I like it, and it makes me happy. And it just sits in the bowl on the table for me to look at. So I've got like everything. I've got crochet, knitting, spinning, and now we're going to dive into weaving because I was super excited and got an Ashford knitter's loom for Christmas, and I have been weaving my little heart out, and hopefully I have time enough to show you all these without piecing together more than one video. So this was the first thing that I wove. It's just some scrap yarns that I had, sock weight, and I learned lots of lessons on this because, as you can see, it's a little tight on one side and not on the other. I used 2 different yarns for the warp, so one was far stretchier than the other, and that made a difference in my tension. Regardless, it was super fun to do, and I love it. And this is just gonna live probably on like my plant table back there. It's super soft. This yarn here was some leftover sock yarn that I had that was Blazing Hours, and I just love the way that that weaves up. It's just awesome. So, lots of lessons learned on that one. Don't necessarily use different yarns for the warp, or just at least make sure your tension is really good. But I was in such a rush to just weave. I just warped it on backwards because I was in a rush. And so then I had to crank it all back the other way, pull it through the reed, and then tie it on properly, and then crank it all back the proper way because I could not weave. It was on backwards. So read your instructions, maybe watch a few videos if you happen to get a loom, and don't rush because you're so excited. But I love this. It's really awesome, and it's so soft, and it's amazing. The next thing that I did was I took some unique sock and I wove with that, and it's a self-striping like Christmas color. I warped it with Elb sock. I warped it in these colors here, and I haven't twisted the fringe on this yet. It's just been sitting. But, you know, I warped, you know, an even number of gray, and then red, and then white, and then green, and then gray, and then back opposite colors. And you can see the white pops out a lot more than everybody else, which is kind of cool. You can sort of, in person, you can see the difference between the gray and the green, but you can definitely see the difference between the gray and the red over here. And it's just really subtle stripes, and this fits down the length of my dining room table. So this is going to be like a Christmas, Christmas time table runner, and it's got these awesome red and green Christmas stripes in there. And I just think that it's really cool. My tension was a lot better on this one. I didn't have too many issues. I found out that I was over beating the yarn in some spots. You can see, maybe you can see how it kind of goes wavy right here, and then like I ended up at one point in time where instead of when I beat it down, it was like starting to be crooked. But I'm learning and it's fun, and that's all that matters. So it just makes me happy. So then I got inspired because, you know, I made a more or less a cloth like for under my plants. I made a table runner, and then I decided to let me try a scarf. Let's not, warp up the whole thing. Let's just do a scarf width. And I had some of this. It's by The Loom, and it's called Original Silk Yarn Paega. Let's see if you can anyway, and this is 100% hemp, and it's like a thick and thin, slubby, really awesome feeling yarn. I had these, they came in kits. I got 3 little kits, and they had different colors in them, and you're supposed to knit a scarf with it. And everything I read in the videos I watched were like, don't use weird yarns for your first, projects. I did anyway, because I'm gonna do what I want. And so I warped up. I had it was like a gray and a blue, and I don't know if you can see the difference. Yes, you can. So there was like a navy and then a gray. It was like a really dark gray navy and then a gray. So I warped up the gray in the center, and then the dark navy on the sides. And then I just randomly striped this like corally color and this green, grassy, yellowy green color with the blue, yes, with the blue-gray in between. So I just did random width stripes throughout, and I got this really cool scarf, and it's just a cute little piece. And I love it. And it's hemp, and it's light, and I do believe that I double warped for the scarf and did a single weft, and I love the way this fabric feels. And it's kind of nice. I could wear it maybe in the spring, closer to summer, because it's hemp and it's like lighter weight. It's not going to keep me as hot as a wool scarf would, but it was just super fun. And so then the next thing that I warped up was a birthday present for my mom. So if you're watching, Mom, and you haven't got your package in the mail yet, and you want to be surprised, look away. So I found this yarn, and my mom loves like oranges and yellows and fire colors, like flames. So I found this yarn at work, and I always would look at it, and I'm like, oh, that's so pretty, but I would hate to knit with it because it's a thick and a thin, and this is like, it's like viscose, cotton, acrylic, and poly, and I just think this would misbehave when knitting because you've got these slubs and they're weirdly plied on each other, and it's just weird. And I always said that yarn would be gorgeous if it was woven up, but I didn't have a loom, and I never thought that I would do it. But as soon as I got my loom and then I was messing around, I decided that I would weave this for my mom. So this is Trendsetter, and it is Sinsin, and it's kind of cool. And so when I was looking up, I was purchasing a stand for my loom, and I came across this shuttle, and it was a wavy shuttle, and I thought that that would be really cool to, you know, like make some wavy. I just thought it would be cool. So I warped up with Cascade 220 Superwash, and then I did a double warp for that, and then I did the wavy weft for this little altar cloth table runner for my mom. Now it's not super visible. The wavy is very subtle. Maybe you can see it there. I think so. You can see some of the little, you know, it kind of goes, but it's really cool. So I made this for my mom for her birthday, and I just think it's kind of awesome. And she can put this, you know, on her altar or on a table or whatever she wants to do. But I just thought that it would be really cool to weave for her. And I did an orange in the warp, and it's just really cool because it blends very nicely with this, you know, it's like a perfect match, and you can see some of the waves there. And so then I had bought so much of that Sinsin that, because I didn't know how much it was going to take me, because I don't know all the math behind weaving yet. I don't know the yardages and stuff. I haven't taken the time to learn that because I'm just excited to weave. So I'll figure it out eventually, and just what I do with everything, with spinning, with knitting, with crochet. I just dive right in and then figure it out later. And yeah, so then I was like, oh, that would be really cool, because, you know, my color palette generally is like Halloween. So like purples and oranges and lime greens, and that if it's Halloween colors, it's pretty much my color palette. Like, I just like bright neons and rainbows and Halloween. And so I got some Cascade 220 in this gorgeous purple, and I did the wavy weave, and I made a scarf with a Sinsin, and it's amazing how you can actually see the wavy weave in the like a higher contrasting color than in the orange is more subtle, but you can see the little waves, and it's kind of cool, and it's super soft, and it's so awesome, and I am just in love with my purple and orange scarf. It's just really awesome. And it's so fun to just see how yarns behave differently when they're woven. This is double warped, again, like the other one, because the dent, I think is the right word, that I had is 15, and then I got a new one that's 12.5. I don't know what any of those numbers mean, but I'm sure I'll figure it out later. The 15 has less holes than the 12.5, so that means there are less ends per inch on this, so I doubled it so that there would be more ends per inch. I sort of sound like I know what I'm talking about. I'll figure it out all eventually and actually know what I'm talking about. But I did, you know, just a straight weave at the ends, and I learned how to do hem stitch, I think it's called, so that wraps around little tassels. And I am not going to fringe these ones out. I kind of like this just the way it is. And that is what I've been working on for the past 2 months. It's a lot. And other than that, life has just been kind of like it's been. I'm really excited that the kids are going back to school. My daughter goes to school all the days of the week. My high schoolers are doing a hybrid schedule, so they go 2 days a week and they're home 3 days a week. They have the Zoom classes on the opposite days, and one of those days, like Wednesdays, for the teachers to just check in with everybody, I guess. But it's been nice and quiet here today, and I feel like I can take a breath finally. And it just happens to be wonderful that Mondays are my day off, and my boys got put on the hybrid schedule with Monday, Thursday. So I was super, super excited about that. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going on. I have just been weaving my little heart out and knitting all the things. I've got, you know, a couple of sweaters in the work. I did feel like I lost my mojo there for a little while. Not really, I guess. It felt like forever. But, because I've just been working on smaller projects. Like when I end up working on crochet projects and just granny blankets and stuff like that, that's when I feel like I don't have my mojo, because I'm not like working on a sweater or something that just excites me. That's kind of just my boring, well, it's not boring, it's still, I don't know how to explain it, but I just felt like I lost my oomph. But I am working on a couple of sweaters now that are really making me excited, because I'm just in love with the yarn and the colors, and I'm making like a his and hers cardigan set for me and my husband. So, but other than that, it's just been, you know, everyday life. I'm really blessed that I get to go to work and help people pick out yarn, and I'm just thankful that my business is, you know, where I work is still thriving, because people need projects to do. But other than that, it's just the same old. I'm excited for Mondays again. I'm excited for Mondays. Not a lot of people like Mondays, but Mondays are my favorite because I have off and my kids are in school and I get to just relax and knit or clean or listen to music really loudly and not have a care in the world. But other than that, I'm just rambling now, so you all just take it one stitch at a time, because that's really all we can do. Bye.